yeah, just don't take anything personally. It's not personal. I really hope this helps. This has been such a huge thing for me in my life. This is one of the best like lessons that I've learned, and it's obviously an ongoing thing. Like you have to remind yourself sometimes. Like, yeah, it's not personal. It can be difficult to break out of that game, where everything's always personal. So, once you do though, it's like night and day. Your everyday life will be so much more peaceful and you'll just feel so much more free. It doesn't help that our society is always like reinforcing that. It's reinforcing that everything's always personal. Um, all of our friends and family, the people we're closest to, they're all acting that way too, as if it's all personal. And your whole life up to this moment, you've been living this way. So it's such a deeply ingrained like habit that's also being reinforced by the people around you. And so it can be so difficult to break out of it. But once you realize the truth that it's not really personal, you begin to have more of a choice in terms of how you respond moving forward. You're not just like stuck on autopilot where, someone says something, someone does something, and you're just instantly reacting as if it's personal. You know, Once you realize that it's not, now you can sit there for a second and be like, "Oh, wait, it's not really personal." So you may still feel, like it was personal because it's such a deeply ingrained thing in you. You can feel that pain or whatever still rise up within you. But once you realize why it's there and that it's not truly personal, you don't have to allow that feeling to possess you and control you and dictate how you're going to to live moving forward. You can just you can notice that feeling and be like, recognize why it's there, accept that it's there, but you don't have to buy into it. You don't have to allow it to control you and control your thoughts and your actions. Um, and it will dissolve. It'll go away. If you can if you can notice it, realize why it's there, realize why you don't have to like believe in it. You don't have to identify with it. Um, it'll just dissolve on its own after a while. You make a habit of that, and eventually you're not going to be taking things personally anymore. You're not going to feel that instant like that instant like hurt or pain. Whatever it is, whatever that feeling is like for you, you're not going to feel it anymore because you've made a habit of not buying into it, not identifying with it and believing what it's trying to do to you. Um, so yeah, it's definitely a process, but the first step is to realize why things aren't personal and then notice it in yourself when you are taking things personally. Notice that feeling and notice your urge to just react. That's the first step, is to notice that. And then instead of trying to fight that, instead of being like, "Oh, I shouldn't be feeling that way," come at it with more acceptance and more, love and understanding for yourself, because you know why you've been doing, why you've been reacting that way. It's only a recent thing why you're starting to move in a new direction. You don't want to fight it because that'll often make it worse. That's going to give it a little more power and a little more control in your life if you're just constantly resisting and fighting, fighting yourself, something within you. But if you can just see it for what it is, allow it to be there, and just don't buy into it, it'll dissolve. It's not going to have control over you anymore. and eventually it's just going to completely phase out, and you'll be able to, be in a situation where maybe before you would just instantly respond with anger or sadness or whatever the emotion is that seems to control you. Now you can be in a situation like that and you'll just be so much more calm, so much more peaceful, and you'll have so much more choice in terms of how you want to respond in that situation. And you don't have to play, you don't have to play that game where, you're taking something personally, you're defending yourself, and so then you lash out on the other person, and then they take it personally, and so they lash back at you, in self-defense. And it's just like this perpetual vicious cycle, and you're just fueling the flames within each other. You're not actually like dissolving the situation. You're just hurting each other. And you're just making it worse and worse. Obviously, so many people fight and then they make up later, but that whole process, I feel like, is so unnecessary once you become a little more aware of like what's really happening there and like what's really going on within two people when there is this conflict and where they're taking things really personally. It's a very unnecessary game that people are participating in. You don't need to be attacking each other, and you don't need to be feeling attacked. It's kind of distracting to the core of the issue. Maybe your argument could start out as something like, there's a disagreement in terms of how you want to approach something, or what your next step is going to be. Like, if you're in a relationship, and you're trying to figure out how to do something. So it could start out as something like that, or it could start as like a misunderstanding, like you're trying to get on the same page about something, and you're debating about it or talking about it, whatever. That's what's starting the conversation. But then it becomes this very personal, very aggressive and hostile conversation, because now it's like your feelings are involved, and it feels like you have to defend yourself, and you have to then attack the other person. Now it's become this like personal thing, when really that wasn't the focus to begin with. It was about whatever it was. So I feel like people can move away from playing this game where you're just hurting each other and hurting yourself, and instead focus on the actual issue or task at hand, instead of getting distracted and getting pulled into this game that we play that is just so destructive. But yeah, that's basically, we don't need to be taking things personally, and your life will be so much better for it. It'll just be so much better. Yeah, I really hope this helps. This has helped me so much. So yeah.